Welcome back to Chapter 3 of our series, Invest Your First $1,000. In today's episode, titled The Perfect Product to Start, Index Funds Explained, we're going to break down what index funds are and how they can be a smart choice for your investment journey. So, let's dive in. Half of professional stock pickers trail the plain old market, even with research teams and fancy tools. Now, it's just you, your paycheck, and a few taps on your phone. In this episode, we'll explore why average might secretly be the most powerful strategy you can choose. Forget meme stocks and hot tips. Most people quietly building real wealth are doing something almost boring. They're buying the entire market in one move. Not by being geniuses, but by refusing to play a game that's stacked against them. Index funds are where that shift happens. Instead of asking, what's the next Tesla? You start asking, how can I own the engine of the economy itself, without babysitting it every day? That's the mindset change this episode is about. We'll look at why trillions of dollars have flowed into index funds, why legendary investors like Warren Buffett tell regular people to use them, and how they turn your first $1,000 from a stressful bet into a simple plan. By the end, you'll see how one decision, owning the whole market instead of a handful of guesses, can quietly shape your next 10, 20, even 40 years. So now that we've shifted the question from, what's the next big winner, to, how do I quietly own progress itself, we can zoom in on what that actually looks like in your life. Index funds aren't a magic button. They're more like a set and aim system. You choose the direction, then let time do most of the heavy lifting. This is where details start to matter. Things like which index you track, how often you add money, and how you react when headlines scream, market crash. Think of this section as calibrating your compass before a long hike, not sprinting toward a finish line. If owning progress is the goal, the next step is choosing which slice of progress you want your money tied to, and how tightly. Think of three basic layers. Home base, broad stock market funds that cover thousands of companies at once, often your biggest building block. Stability layer, bond index funds that move more gently and can soften the blows when stocks drop. Optional spice, more focused indexes like specific sectors or international markets that you might add later, not with your very first $1,000. For a lot of first-time investors, the home base is something like a total U.S. market index, a total international index, or both. One owns most publicly traded U.S. companies, the other owns companies everywhere else. Together, they give you exposure to tech, healthcare, banks, factories, without forcing you to guess which will dominate. Next, zoom in on costs. Tiny expense ratios matter enormously over decades. Paying 0.05% versus 0.66% a year sounds trivial, but the difference quietly compounds. More of each year's return stays in your account instead of leaking out as fees. When you compare funds tracking the same index, cost is often the tiebreaker. Then there's risk level, which is less about the fund itself and more about your mix. More stock index funds, bigger swings, higher long-term growth potential. More bond index funds, smaller swings, lower growth, smoother ride. Your age, income stability, and how you emotionally handle drops should drive that mix. A 25-year-old who won't touch the money for 30 years can usually live with deeper dips than someone planning to retire in 7. You'll also decide how to add money. 2 powerful habits. 1. Automate contributions on payday so investing happens before spending. 2. Stay consistent through good and bad headlines, especially when markets look scary. One misconception is that passive means you never touch anything. In reality, you might occasionally rebalance, nudging your mix back toward your target when one part runs ahead. Your challenge this week: pick one low-cost stock index fund you could realistically use as your core, read its fact sheet, and write down 3 things: its fees, what it owns, and how much it's moved in past downturns. That simple research repays you for decades. Think of 2 friends, Maya and Luis, each starting with $1,000. Maya grabs 5 exciting individual stocks she saw on social media. Luis drops his into a broad index fund and sets up $100 automatic deposits each month. 3 years in, Maya has 1 big winner, 2 losers, and 2 that went nowhere. She's constantly checking prices and second-guessing herself. Luis barely logs in, but his account has grown steadily with each deposit and market move. Plus, he's paid almost nothing in fees. Zoom out 10 to 15 years, and another difference appears. Decisions. Maya keeps facing new choices. Sell, rotate, chase, hold. Each one a chance to make a mistake or freeze. Luis mostly makes one decision. Keep the plan or change it. That simplicity is a quiet advantage. Your own version might be in a 401k, an IRA, or a brokerage app. The vehicle matters less than the pattern. A low-cost fund, regular contributions, and a plan you're not tempted to overhaul every time the market twitches. Index funds might quietly become part of the invisible infrastructure of money, like power grids for investing. As more cash flows into them, rules about how they vote shares, lend securities, and design new indexes will matter more than any hot stock tip. Your challenge this week: find one real fund you could use as a core, then look up who manages it, how they vote on big company decisions, and whether that aligns with what you want your money endorsing. Over time, your simple setup can evolve with your life. New goals, income, or responsibilities. You might add a second fund, shift your mix, or pause contributions briefly, the way a runner adjusts pace on a long trail. The key is that you now have a default path. From here, every tweak is a choice, not a reaction to noise. Before next week, ask yourself, 1. If I opened a brokerage account today, which specific broad market index fund, by ticker symbol, would I actually pick, and why does its fee-expense ratio feel worth it to me compared with at least one alternative? 2. Looking at my current savings, what exact dollar amount or percentage could I realistically set on automatic monthly investment into that index fund without stressing my budget, and what day of the month would I automate it for? 3. Given my real timeline, when I might want to buy a home, pay for education, or retire, what holding period am I mentally committing to for this index fund? And how will I remind myself not to panic sell during the next inevitable market drop? This was Owl Up, your daily step forward. This series continues with more chapters on owlup.co. Visit owlup.co to access the complete course and continue your learning journey. See you there!